protesting would mean, voicing our disagreements, would mean sharing images of the brutalities, of the killings, of the murder, of the annexation of Palestinian territory. Okay, and that is the only language. For me, I don't see a way out of this. Look, all the politicians would go to the negotiation table and talk all the big English about two-state solution and all of that. It's nonsense. Nobody respects that. Nobody wants to see a two-state solution in reality. Because if we did, if Britain did, if France did, if Germany did, if Ghana did, if the United States of America did, the conflict, Israel would have stopped what it is doing. Imagine what will happen if Ghana canceled all the multi-million-dollar contracts it's awarded to Israeli companies like Amandi, who are financing politicians here in Ghana. Imagine what would happen if the Togolese did same, and Ivorians did same, and Nigerians did same, and Middle Eastern people did same, and everybody else did same. Imagine what would happen. It would bankrupt the Israeli economy. And the Israeli people would be in the streets protesting against their own government, as we saw in South Africa. Okay? If the government doesn't, we need to be able to give power back to the people. And for me, the way to bring about long-lasting change to this age-old conflict would be for ordinary citizens of the world to join the boycott movement, to boycott, to call on their governments to sanction and diversify Israeli investment in their countries. That is the only way to bring Israel to its knees. Otherwise, they wouldn't stop. Day in, day out, let me land on this. Day in, day out, you see the Israelis emboldened. I mean, look at what they did in just recently, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. In the holiest month for Muslims all over the world, in Ramadan, in the most sacred places of one of the 3 most sacred places for Muslims all over the world, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, on the holiest night, what happened? The Israelis, in an act of provocation, sent their forces to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, preventing people from going in and from coming out, eventually ended up firing canisters and tear gas, that led to the escalation of violence. No group of people anywhere in the world would put up with this. And so you see a certain level of brazenness, a certain level of courage. It's like the more you do, the more you condemn them, the more they want to do it. Well, if you launched an onslaught on their economy, they will think twice about killing babies. They will think twice about arresting teenagers. They will think twice about annexing territory by the UN. And Sule, why would Israel accept Resolution 181, which basically saw the creation of Israel, but would reject every other UN resolution? And there's no consequences, and there are no consequences. When you expect that when people put up bad behavior, they be punished. Because if it had been any country in the world, there would have been ramifications. Look at how the Americans all these years have terrorized leaders. Regime change here, regime change there. One party has been in power for too long and they have to go, And Israelis are killing babies and men and women and, displacing people. And they are talking about a two-state solution. A two-state solution can happen in our lifetime if we scale up the onslaught on the Israeli economy. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with calling for a boycott of a country that has no respect for the rule of law, that has no respect for international law.
You are giving very strong solutions, but do you think it's going to work, especially when...
It is working. It is working. Adidas Pula, I told you a while ago, Adidas, there was a global boycott of Adidas until 2018 when they pulled out of the sponsorship of the Israeli League. And I'm saying we can do that. Caterpillar is in Ghana. Caterpillar is an Israeli company. If government stop buying, stuff from Caterpillar, if we cancelled all the contracts with Israeli, companies doing business in Ghana, and other countries did same, you think that the Zionist government in Tel Aviv would survive? They won't survive it. So if somebody is putting up bad behavior, is putting up a gangster behavior, we don't expect that there should be gunfight every day. But I mean that's the most peaceful way of actually ending this level of madness, where there would be no shot fired, where there would be no bombs or grenades fired, but just like that, the Israeli economy would be gone.
Yeah. Let's watch a short video so that at least our participants will see the enormity of the situation at hand. I don't know. Can you see this video?
Yes, I can see it from here.
I'm only 10. My uncle is sick. I'm always I don't know. I can't do anything. People also live.
Yeah. Hello, we cannot see any video, please.
Fix it?
Oh.
I'm only 10.
You cannot see it?
Yeah, it's just a screensaver.
Okay. Put on your videos, and then afterwards you just put it off.
My uncle is sick. I'm always I don't know. I can't do anything.
Can you see now?
People also live.
Oh, please.
I'm only 10. I can't even do anything anymore. I just want to be a doctor or anything to help my people. I can't.
Can you see?
I'm just.
Oh, please, but that's fine. I can't see it, but
we cannot see anything. Cannot see anything. Only the background. The desktop.
I do anything for my people, but I don't know what to do. I'm just 10.
Sorry.
Mr. Sule, maybe you can just put the link to the video in the chats and then we can watch it individually. Maybe.
Okay.
What did we do to this?
Sorry, the video is on the desktop.
They just hate us. They just don't like us because.
Okay, then. Sorry, I'm going to stop the video. So, can we put off our video so that Honorable Mubarack can? Okay. Mr. Pratt is, I think he's engaged. Can you put off your videos and leave that off? Okay, put off your videos. Honorable Mubarack, you've been very strong. Can you like some of the challenges? Can you put off your video and your mic? Sorry. On the section of Mubarack. All of you, all participants, kindly put off your videos and mics. Okay, so Honorable, you've been in this crusade for some time now. Can you tell us some challenges? Have you faced real challenges apart from what happened when you went to Gaza to see what is happening and you were declared a persona non grata? Have you faced real challenges personally?
I'm getting a lot of feedback. Participants still have their microphones on.
Yeah,
so I'm getting a lot of feedback. If you could repeat your question again, please.
Yeah, my question is, you've been at this for a while, apart from the fact that you went to Gaza to see what is happening and you were you were declared a persona non grata, which is not a friendly term in international circles. Apart from that, have you faced any real challenges apart from this challenge you faced?
Well, I mean, they've attempted all manner of tricks through surrogates, in my own constituency. And I'll tell you a story. There's a time in early 2018 when the Honorable K.T. Hammond came up to me, I mean, basically panting. because of an article I had written about Israel, and some people had called him, and, we're friends. So he came up to me and said, Ras, these people are dangerous. They are going to kill you. So that's the sort of fear that they try to put in people. We know that they've been abducting Palestinian politicians in the Middle East and the rest of that. We know that they've attempted to influence elections in many parts of the world through surrogates, through some of their companies. We know that. And we know some of the people they are financing, and we are prepared, because we can't be daunted. I keep saying that an injustice against anyone is an injustice against all of us, and so, whether or not I remain relevant in politics because of my criticism of Israel is neither here or there. Look at how long Mr. Pratt has been an advocate, a champion of the rights of Palestinians. He's still alive. He's still here doing what he does. So they'll try and put fear in you. They'll try and threaten and do all sorts of things. But if you know what you're about, you would prevail. We know that. I know that I'm on the right side of history, and in the fullness of time, history would judge all of us. Anyone who has been against colonization, history will judge us very kindly. Imagine, the kinds of names that those who were championing for the rights of South Africans were called. Some of them were even branded as terrorists. And today people come up on my wall and say, I'm a supporter of Hamas, and for which reason I'm a terrorist and all of that. So you get all of these. And then very sadly, because I speak to colleagues from both sides who will tell you, oh, this Palestinian issue is a just cause, but you see, if I do it and I apply for a US visa, I might not get it. If I do it and apply for a UK visa. So for some people, that is what it is all about. It's about them continuing to get access to the West, and they're happy about that. They would rather turn a blind eye to the suffering of their fellow human being, to the bloodshed and the killing of Palestinians. Every sane person in the world would condemn what Hitler did to the Jews.
Yeah.
And if we are all appalled and shocked, and can't put up with what Hitler did to the Jews, why must we be aloof, and scoff off attempts to criticize Zionist Israel? And just recently, there was an attempt. I was told this was the second attempt by some self-seeking individuals to get acceptance. So the Israeli, what you call it, the Israeli ambassador would visit places, and there are people who should know better facilitating such photo opportunities. And then you see the Israeli ambassador here, doing this, Israeli ambassador here doing that. We should be running away from her. I have nothing against her. I've met her. I have nothing against her. But her government, there's blood on the hands of her government. And for which reason, people all over the world should gather the courage, to speak truth to power and to stand up in solidarity with the oppressed people of Palestine who deserve. What are they asking for? To be free, to live in their own country. The Palestinians are not asking for much. They're asking for equality, for freedom. How hard is that? To be treated as equal human beings. And we would rather, as politicians, be thinking about, obsessed with getting US visas and British visas, and for which reason we can't stand up in parliament and write statements or join marches and demonstrations and add our voices. If the likes of Nkrumah and those who stood who stood shoulder to shoulder with him had selfishly thought like that, we wouldn't have been where we are today. People had made sacrifices, you know, and if there's any country, if there's any continent, that should be in solidarity with the Palestinians and all oppressed people of the world. They should be Africans because of our own experiences, because we've been through slavery, as I've said earlier. We've been through colonization. We've been through imperialism. Okay?
Yeah.
And we understand what it means to be a second-class citizen in your own country. We understand what it means not to be in charge of our own affairs.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I'm so proud of I'm so happy about the position that the Irish, who themselves were under, you know, English segregation.
Yeah. Can you tell us what the Irish did last week? What exactly did they do?
Okay, so there's a resolution before Parliament. I haven't followed subsequently, so I don't know whether it was passed or it's still, you know, being debated on. But there was a motion in Parliament that would call out Israel, a motion in Parliament that would see the Republic of Ireland impose sanctions on Israel.
And to be the first European country to do this.
I mean, trust me, I'm excited that, you know, they've gathered that courage. You know, already they are calling for the expulsion of the Israeli ambassador, you know, which is exciting. That is a cue. I'm hoping, you know, that countries such as Germany, you know, which has a colonial past, would actually be on the right side of history, because Germany is very influential. And I've heard some, you know, courageous German politicians call out Israel for the oppression of Palestine. But we want to see this upscaled. You know, we want to see this taken a notch higher. We want to see the suffering end sooner. We want to see an end to occupation. This is not that's not too much to ask. Yeah, and so the world has the capability. Yeah. We have the power to end this illegal occupation of Palestinian territory. Palestinians themselves are in support of a two-state solution, and that's how come they signed up to the Oslo Peace Accord in 1991. And what did they get after signing up to it? They are back to ground zero. Israel continues to steal their land. You know, and world leaders, world powers.
When you say stealing of land, people may not understand what it is. What is it literally? Is it about going to no man's land and picking it, or people from their homes?
So, if plot number A belongs to you, somebody encroaches on that plot with guns and knives and bombs and takes it from you, that's you know, the diplomats would want to call it annexation. For me, it is theft.
Yeah, so the Irish Parliament actually passed a resolution calling it an abhorrent annexation, but the aspect of expulsion could not materialize. But the tagging of it as annexation and ethnic cleansing has been adopted.
It is very exciting. I'm hoping that politicians in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Europe, in America, in South America, in Asia, would gather the courage. And you see, the Irish have also done it because of their own colonial past. I mean, they've been treated as second-class citizens in Great Britain. You know, they broke away, the Protestants. You know, and if you've been through slavery, if you've been through colonization, you can't be in support of, you know, these things in the name of religion or in the name of culture or in the name of tribe or in the name of ethnicity. It is racism 101. It is apartheid 101. And we must, you know, call it so for what it is.
Okay. So at this point, if you want to ask a question, just put up your hand. I'll give you the opportunity to ask Honorable a live question. So if you have a question, just show by hand using the emoji, and then I'll give you the opportunity to ask a question. Is Honorable off?
I'm still on.
I can see you. What happened?
Can you see me?
I think it's my problem. Yeah, now I
Okay.
can see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you have a question, just use the reaction button and I will give you the opportunity to ask Honorable a question. Okay, so Honorable, also, Mubarack, you realize that the journey of how violence actually started, when they went there, when the Israelis finally went there, it didn't start as violence. And I have chance on a document called, titled By Way of Deception. And I'm asking all listeners, people who are watching, to get this document. And actually, this is from, his name is Victor Ostrovsky. I read this document as far back as, I think, 2012, and it was authored in 1990. And this is a secret agent of the Mossad. Mossad is more like the secret agency of the secret services of Israel. And he mentions like how they were.
And try and add apartheid each time you try and prefix Israel apartheid. Each time you want to, is apartheid.
And be careful. So yeah, so and he mentions how they were almost like brainwashed to see the Palestinians as evil people and they as the right people, and therefore violating the blood of a Palestinian is actually not a crime. And so after 4 years into this service, he finally he decided to resign, and then gave his account, which was then published by one of the most fearless journalists we had seen in history. His story was, nobody wanted to publish his story until this journalist, I'm trying to get her name, decided to actually publish, Clara Hoy. Yeah, so Clara Hoy decided to publish this account, which is titled By Way of Deception. And so what I'm thinking is that when we talk about the history of violence in the region, it is important for us to even situate it properly. Is it that even when they went there, violence started, or there were some provocations that brought up the violence and then now justified the so-called self-defense?
No, so I mean, obviously when they went there was resistance, but I'm sure because of the 1922 approval by the League of Nations, which gave it a stamp of approval, it wasn't as violent as it became over the years. So 47, 48, Israel becomes independent, and you see clear attempts to annex, to steal, to grab more Palestinian territory. And Sule, you would know that, the imperialists, the colonizers would always find subterfuge. They would find clever means of, hiding their real intentions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the principle was that Jews were hounded out of Europe, and for which reason, give them a piece of the land, humanitarian, put a human face to the whole issue, only to see the real intention, which is basically to claim that it was God who gave them the land, and you see more attempts. But look at our own history. How did the Europeans get here? By the time they gave us the liquor and the Bible, they had the land, and we had the Bible.
Yeah.
So historically, colonizers would go hiding their real intentions about what they want to do. And look at the mess they created in the Gold Coast. All they were interested in was just dig out everything in Ghana. So they would construct rail lines to where the gold was, and then ignore the suffering and the need, to respect humans. Yeah. And that's what they did in places like, all over the place where there's been European colonization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our co-host has a question. Yunus, you can quickly ask your question. If you have a question, you can just put up your hand. I will let you. Yeah. You have to unmute your mic. You have to unmute your mic, Yunus.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. There is a question that came in my inbox, and the person is asking, what is Palestine? What is West Bank? And what is Gaza?
So what is the map?
Yes, the map. It looks like one country, and there is Israel in it, there is Gaza, and there is West Bank. What about that?
I'll show the picture.
Okay, so the West Bank, Gaza, East Jerusalem are all part of Palestine. It's like the map of Ghana. You have northern region, upper east, upper west, right. And the rest of it. So Gaza is a part of Palestine, which the Israelis have imposed a blockade on. They control what. I hope the question is answered.
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
So can you see the picture? All of those who are listening, can you see the picture on the screen?
No, it's just your background.
No, we can't see. We can't see. It's only the screen.
We can't see.
So what you need to do is put it up in the chat box so that they can download or look later.
Okay, I'll do that because I wanted them to actually. Can you also? Can you also all participants? Okay, yeah. Okay, Honorable. So let's begin to wrap up. Yeah, so now, what will you say is the main reason why a solution cannot be found? You've catalogued a couple of issues.
It's political.
Mm-hmm.
It's political.
So in essence, you think that this is a political struggle, not a religious struggle?
No. Trust me, this has nothing to do with religion. And for the benefit of viewers who have just joined us, those people who are running Israel today, the prime minister, a typical example, he's not a Christian, he's not a Jew, he's not a Muslim. The prime minister is an atheist.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you are sitting here fighting some getting involved in some unnecessary religious argument, it has nothing to do with religion. The prime minister of Israel does not observe the Sabbath. In Judaism, people don't work on Saturdays. Okay? The prime minister of Israel works on Saturdays. The prime minister of Israel doesn't wear the kippah. The kippah is just like a Sunni Muslim leaving his beard. It's very, very important, to Jews. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you're here thinking it's religion, it has nothing to do with Christianity. Neither does it have anything to do with Judaism or Islam. It's a political agenda by the Zionists. And don't forget, these were a bunch of people who sat together and said, wait a minute, we could actually bring back the lost tribes of Israel, by having a Jewish state somewhere in the 18th century, a bunch of people. And they began lobbying, selling the idea to politicians. And because politicians are so corrupt and and sleazy. I'm a politician, so I know what I'm talking about. You know, you had the foreign minister or the foreign secretary of Britain buying into it, selling the idea to his cabinet, and then just like that, there was a spark. They sold it to the League of Nations in 1922, which gave it a stamp of approval through the Balfour Declaration. And then in 1947, the State of Israel was created. So before 47, there was nothing like, there was no state. Anyone who was born before 47 was born at the time there was no state called Israel. And I recently got into a discussion with somebody about this thing, and I asked him, "You claim that this is a land promised the Israelites," and I asked him, "Can you give me the description of Israelites, either from the Bible or from, you know, the Mosaic Hebrew Bible?"
Yeah.
And he started. He fumbled, you know, because you can't tell me a Caucasian all of a sudden is a Jew. You can't tell me a Caucasian sorry, not a Jew. I mean, you can't tell me a Caucasian all of a sudden is an Israelite.
Yeah, Mubarack, can you? I'm sorry to interrupt. I think I'm the only one on the screen.
Okay, to see whether or not the people living in present day Israel are the Israelites, you need to look at how Israelites look like. Imagine if somebody came here and said he's an African and he looks Caucasian, just like the Boas did in South Africa. I don't know, that's how the Boas came. It was an outrage. You know, they had come from the Netherlands, from Holland, settled in South Africa, and then they said they were Africans. And there was nothing about them that looked African.
There is a question here. Can you ask Ras Mubarack? The question is from Kweku and Tuadakwa. He says, who named the land Palestine? Was it the Romans or the Palestinians? Can Ras Mubarack give us the name of one former leader, president of today's Palestine? Why did the Ottomans not give the land to the Palestinians in their 400 years of rule? The questions are a lot, but let's start with this one. He says, where from the name Palestine?
Okay, so Palestine, people living in the state of Palestine, okay, or Palestinian territory. It's just like asking where from the name Ghanaian. You know, anyone of Ghanaian citizenship is a Ghanaian, you know, so that is my response to that question. The second one on why the Ottoman Empire, empires rise and empires fall. Kweku, empires rise and empires fall. You know, Songhai Empire, Mali Empire, Byzantine Empire, you know, Roman Empire. We had the Ottoman Empire, which ruled present-day Palestine for about 400 years, until about 1917. You know, now in 1917, Kweku, you would know that, you know, the Allied forces had victory in the First World War. You know, so the victors got the spoils of war. I mean, if you go to war and you win the war, in some cases, everything on the land becomes yours. So that's how things were in those days, you know? So Britain, just like they did in Ghana, just like the French did in Algeria, in Morocco, just like the Germans did in, you know, Mozambique and elsewhere, Britain took control when the Ottoman Empire fell in 1917. So they took control, they stepped in, okay? And they ran present-day Palestine, including Israel, until about 1922, when they started selling this crazy idea about creating, a home. It wasn't even a state, that they needed a place where Jews all over the world can embark on pilgrimage, creating a Jewish home for Jews who were misplaced as a result of the First World War. Okay, so that's how come, the League of Nations, and then later on the United Nations got onto this idea of, okay, let's give Jews a state. So the state of Israel was created in 47. Israel became independent in 48.
The last question is that he wants to pitch in the religious angle. So he says that at what point, where did God put the Jews or if you want the Yahudis, as he puts it?
Let me give you a typical example.
Yeah.
Dagombes, and for international viewers, Dagombes are a tribe in Ghana, my tribe. Okay, we originated historically from Mauritania. Can we go today to Mauritania and stake a claim to the land? Because that's where our forefathers, our ancestors came from.
The guys are from Nigeria.
The Gans are from Nigeria. Can the Gans go to Nigeria and say, well, once upon a time, our forefathers lived here, but some of us migrated. So give us back that land? It's very absurd. And that is why the religious argument is so weak. Because in the first place, those who are claiming to be Jews, or those who are Jews today, with all due deference and respect, don't look like Israelites of biblical era. They don't. And if you want to have a fair idea of how the Israelites look like, open the Bible and read the Songs of Solomon. You would get a fair idea of how Israelites look, and look at Netanyahu's cabinet and tell me, what about Netanyahu and his hawks, his Zionist hawks that look like Israelites? So it's a fallacy that has been sold the world. It's a fallacy that they are perpetuating. It's a fraud that they are perpetuating on the world. Pulling a wool over everyone's eye, trying to make it look like it's religious, when, as a matter of fact, the people at the forefront, many of them are even atheists. They don't believe that there's a God. So if you're sitting here thinking this is about some religion, you're missing the point. This is about human rights. It's about theft of Palestinian territory. It's about respecting international law. It's about going back to 1967, when the United Nations made a declaration, that Palestinian territory, as defined in accordance with the 1967 borders. And ask yourself, since 1967, what has been happening? Day in, day out, year in, year out, these apartheid Zionists running Israel continue to steal or annex Palestinian territory. That is what is happening.
Yeah. Okay. There are a couple of hands up. We'll take a few and then we can bring the show to an end. So let me start from, there's Dawood Farouk. If you are here, can you ask your question quickly? Okay. Then let's move to the next person. We have Apia Ernest. Apia Ernest.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alaji. And let me commend you and Honorable Ras Mubarack and Mr. Kwesi Pratt for the wonderful lectures that they have given to us. In fact, I must say emphatically that religion has caused more harm than good to some of we, the Christians. In fact, looking at the banter that is going on between the Israelites and the Palestinians, I am tempted to say that I think it's a brainwash that we have been through for the years that, I mean, we are all seeing. Now, I had wanted to ask, but I think Honorable Ras Mubarack talked about it. I wanted to know what exactly the United Nations and the world is doing about the banter that is going on between the Israelites. And I think Honorable Kwesi Pratt threw more light on the issue as to the Israelites claiming land. I think this is crazy, if I may say. But let me thank you, and let's hope that one day we will all wake up and see Palestinians having their freedom to rule themselves. Thank you very much, Honorable Sule, and thank you, Mr. Mubarack. We are much grateful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ernest, for your comments.
Yeah, another person is Mubarack. Your hand is up. If you have a question, you can put it.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Please ask your question.
Alaji, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to senior citizen, Mr. Kwesi Pratt, and good afternoon to Honorable and all the participants. Thank you, Honorable, for enlightening us this afternoon. I 100% agree with you when you said that ongoing conflict has nothing to do with religion. But you see, Honorable, the Zionist state of Israel is actually hiding under religion to win the support of some conservatives and some religious fanatics to cause chaos in the Middle East, not only in Palestine. And with the full support of the United States of America, they are able to carry out all this chaos and mayhem that they are causing in the Middle East there. Honorable, one thing I've realized is that people put a lot of religious sentiments into what is going on in Middle East. And if we look at
about it, we have to.
Okay, Alaji. But if we look at, if we go into the scriptures, the religious books, you realize that even in the Bible, it is clearly stated that the first occupants of that land were not called Jews; they were called Canaanites, and Canaanites actually spread in some parts of Syria to Lebanon and present-day Palestine. And so, by extension, one will also argue that if today if today Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine are Arabs, so by extension, one will argue that the Arabs were actually the Canaanites. So the land belongs to the Arabs, not the Jews.
Okay, thank you. Honorable, I think time is almost fast.
My response to that is that you need to look at how peacefully the Arabs, the Jews, and the Gentiles have been living. They've coexisted for God knows how many years now, until this crazy idea from the Zionists to create a home, for the lost tribes of Israel following World War. Now, you must also take note of the fact that this is business and nothing else. What was one of the reasons given by the United States of America in respect of the weapon sales? U.S. is about to sell, it's about to give weapons valued at about $1 billion, almost a little over $750 million worth of weapons to apartheid Israel. Almost $1 billion. That is what the politicians are doing. They see it as an opportunity to do business, to sell more guns and more bombs and more tanks and kill more people. And it is not in the interest of these criminal politicians to see peace in the Middle East. Because if there's peace, They can't sell their bombs and knives and guns and tanks. Okay? And that is why we, the citizens, would have to force our politicians to act right, by boycotting and calling on our governments to boycott. I mean, this is about human rights. It has nothing to do with religion. As we say in Tree, blood flows through the veins of every human being, whether you're black, white, or colored, or Indian. So we should be minded about the fanatics who want to hide under the cloak of religion to obfuscate the issues and to, confuse people to think that this is about religion. It has nothing to do with religion. It's about selling knives and it's about selling bombs and tanks, And if you look at it's not just the United States of America. Britain is also doing the same. The UK government is also selling ammunition to the Israelis. If this is not about business and about politics, I don't know what this is about.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Honorable Ras Mubarack. I think we should be bringing everything to an end, but quickly, Kweku came back with a response and he says that they have always advocated for two-state solution and Palestinians have always rejected this. Kweku, this is not true.
That is a fallacy.
That's not
Otherwise,
true.
why?
Yeah.
Sule, why are why is apartheid Israel not respecting the Oslo Accord?
Yeah.
Why has Israel since 1967 violated every United Nations resolution?
Yeah.
So, if they are committed to a two-state solution.
Yeah, so it's not true. You can read the Oslo Accord, Kweku, for yourself and see why, after many years, UN continuously have resolutions against Israel, not against the Palestinians. So it means the culprits here are the Israelis, and we are only asking for a two-state solution. And activists like ourselves, Comrade Kwesi Pratt and other well-known activists are asking for a true definition of two-state solution and not just a sham of a two-state solution that is always bandied around without actions or without any proper actualization of them. So I'll quickly give the floor to Honorable to give your final comments, and then we bring the session to an end. I hope that we have had enough information historically that obviously would guide us in the way we view how issues are unfolding in the Palestinian-Israeli strife. So the last word will be for Ras Mubarack.
Well, I want to thank you, Sule, for the good work you've done for putting this broadcast together. To all participants, I thank them for their time and would encourage everybody to continue to seek knowledge. We are fortunate that in today's day and age, there is a huge body of knowledge at our fingertips that we can access, but not just access. Once we have the knowledge, we should endeavor to share with our brothers and sisters and countrymen and women who may be under the illusion that this conflict is about religion. It has nothing to do with religion. It's about respecting human rights. It's about Palestinian freedom. It's about justice for the Palestinian people. And we hope that in our lifetime, the people of Palestine will be free. We also hope that, citizens of the world will join the boycott campaign, to boycott anything from Israel until Israel begins to respect the rights of Palestinians. Just as we did with the Boers in South Africa, we have to do it to the Israelis until they respect human rights. I thank you for the opportunity, and God bless.
Thank you very much for coming. And I must say, I'm very grateful. When I contacted Honorable, he accepted this invitation without condition, and I'm very happy about that. And it shows that his enthusiasm is actually genuine and not merely for any material or personal gains. And for those, for Kweku, the last document I would like you to look at is the King Crane Commission report in 1919, which was commissioned by the American government, which virtually rejected the proposal to create an independent Israeli state. So you should look at this document also. It is called the King-Crane Report, Commission Report in 1919. I thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you some other time on a different issue that borders on the rights of people to live in peace. And we hope that the world will actually make themselves available in finding a lasting solution to what is happening in Palestine and between the Palestinians and Israel. All we want is peace, and we want that is happening right now. Thank you for coming. See you some other time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.